Right, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go into the interview with Dr Deng Dongrin Akuany. And like I said earlier on, he's the co-chair of the Afrikan and Diaspora Institute. It's just been established. They've done nearly a year of consultation setting it up. And he's on the steering committee of that, the Afrikan and Diaspora Institute. He's also MP in the National Assembly of Sudan on behalf of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement. I actually spoke to him in Sudan on the mobile, so, I tried to get the call as clear as possible, but if you hear a bit of background noise, it's just that's the circumstances, but you have to get the guests when you can get them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play the first half of this, probably take about half an hour, just going to let it play straight through, give you an idea of the works that are going on. So the first half really looks at the work of ADI. The second half looks at more politics in Sudan and in the region, although bits come up in this first half as well. So I'm going to let Dr Deng Dongrin Akuany just explain, what is going on, the whole reason for setting up the Afrikan and Diaspora Institute. Your background, yeah?
Well, if you are asking about academic background, I have a Bachelor of Social Science. This is my first degree in political science. LLB in law, which is from Leeds, and a Bachelor of political science from Khartoum here. I have a diploma in development administration from Birmingham University. I have got master's degree in political sociology of development from Leeds and a PhD in political economy from University of Hull in the UK. I'm an academician by profession. I used to teach at Juba University, Khartoum University, Leeds, and also I work as a solicitor in Leeds. So a lawyer, political scientist, an economist, and a social scientist.
Okay. Did you grow up in Khartoum or in South Sudan?
I grew up in South Sudan, but I came to university in Khartoum, University of Khartoum, where I did my Bachelor of Social Science in Politics.
What was the thinking behind establishing the Afrikan and Diaspora Institute?
You see, education is the key word here. In the third world countries, even in advanced countries, education is a way forward. The education of illiteracy is also very important. So if you are educated to high school level or university level, you can get a better job. At least a job where you can hire a clean house, drink clean water, eat a reasonable food, and you are out of poverty. So education, we want to help African children, either in diaspora or in Africa, to get educated and to get jobs where they can improve their standard of living. So this is the meaning of that. As I was in the UK, we discovered that majority of the black Africans, whether they are from Jamaica or from main Africa, are excluded from the main education. And so the intention is to help educate, give a chance to those excluded children, whether in Sudan, where majority of Africans are marginalized, they have no education, or in London, where we have a big number of excluded children from the schools. So the intention is to help educate those excluded African children from Jamaica, from Africa, and so forth.
Okay, what kind of projects will you be undertaking?
It will be educational projects, training in various computer studies, vocational studies, then accelerated studies. You see, in the Sudan especially, we had 20 years of no education. So a child grew up after 20 years without education. Now we are thinking about accelerated education, where we can have a crutch program to educate somebody to finish primary education and provisional education, or those who can do well can go to high school through adult education. And so we can have a project, we are going to have a project on this, combined with the long distance learning. See, after you finish
have you had for ADI both on the continent in Africa and in the diaspora?
Well, in Africa, the government of South Sudan has a plan for manpower development. We have a budget for that. And this budget will involve millions of dollars, which the ADI can benefit from. Paying of teachers or lecturers, tutors, researchers. So we are planning here to have a budget here in South Sudan. As for the diaspora, well, it is left to Dr. Hines to tell you how far have they gone with the raising of funds in order to fund programs in order to support the ADI.
Okay, yeah, I can speak to him about that then, yeah. How do you see ADI interacting with existing organisations and institutions?
Well, there are a lot of chances to do that through leadership of the ADI and exchange of staff, assuming that the ADI will have qualified professionals and lecturers. We could then ask some of them to visit Southern Sudan in order to establish a branch, in order to interact with the other institutions of education. In South Sudan, there are 4 universities: Juba University, Malakal University, Barghazal University, and University of Rumbek. And these universities will benefit through exchange of the staff, training and getting books. Because the ADI is established in advanced country, then we can get reason to produce books, academic books rather. Okay, by that, this could be a way of interaction.
Yeah, what's up? This is Chuck D for Kubara and Nubiart right here. This is Chuck D, public enemy #1. Keep it locked.
Looking through the memorandum, a lot of it looked like what the Pan-African Congress movement planned to do. Like especially because you're talking about having branches in lots of countries. How does ADI differ from the Pan-African Congress movement's ideals?
Yes, Pan-African movements came up during independence period in most of African countries. And those African countries were under government who just got independence. So they had difficulties in making a difference in terms of development, in terms of contribution to its research, and so forth. Now, ADI has come at a time when most of the African countries, and especially the African Union, which has replaced the Organization of African Unity, they have now development sector, which is involved in trying to do research on development, political development, social development, and also to coordinate with the Africans in the United States, Africans in Jamaica, Africans in UK, Africans in other European countries, such that at least the African intelligentsia can organize themselves and do research for the promotion of development of our race. And that was the main theme of the Pan-African movement, to develop and to strengthen the black race. ADI can have better reception now because most of the Africans have gone through second-term liberation movement, and it will be more accessible. There are more researches, and there are chances that people can learn and people can see how people failed during the post-independent period, and now the ADI can make use of this development.
You talked about failures coming out of some Pan-Africanist ideals. What's needed to bring about effective leadership of organisations and also have some successes on the ground?
Well, people must come together, organise conferences, visit Africa, and especially the Renaissance. There is now a program in Southern Africa whereby the African leadership, the Pan-African leadership, the African intelligentsia must come together, define what is development, what is political equality, what is justice, what is human rights violations to be removed, the crime against humanity to be removed in Africa. Learning people, nationalists, will then be empowered to develop socio-economic infrastructure and to raise instead of living education, because in Africa 50% of the people are still illiterate, And to strengthen leadership, education must be given, training must be given, and it is be done by us, by the Africans, such that it is not foreign. And by doing this by ourselves, then we can achieve full liberation of our people. We do things by ourselves, and will be effective leadership. We should not look for the World Bank, should not look for international community, but we must engage all our people so that we can learn for ourselves and create effective leadership by using the experiences of the old Pan-African leadership. We have left us very good legacy.
It seems like a lot of good ideas come from like people who are in opposition or in the minority in government. Yeah, so but it seems to be that the governments, the central government, the lead role of the government, the major party in the government, they seem to be the people who are having problems implementing a lot of the good ideas that have come out of different African thinkers, different activists, different activities, active organizations, grassroots organizations. So, I don't think there's a shortage of people who can analyze what's needed. We have problems with implementation.
Yes, of course, there is a problem of implementing ideas, and this is created by the existence of political ideologies. In this country where I'm in, we have Islamic ideologies, we have socialist ideologies, we have liberal democratic ideologies, we have African socialistic ideologies, and so forth. So in the existence of so many ideologies, if certain government is controlled by one ideology, then the other elites from different political backgrounds have to struggle to oppose and so on and so. This was the cause until the collapse of communism in Eastern Europe. Now we have a threat of Islamic fundamentalism in Africa, especially Sudan. And the agreement we made between the SPLM and the Islamists has reduced the tension. So we are working now in a way that we have to go liberal rather than to continue to be Islamic fundamentalists or Christian fundamentalists for the sake of the country, say that there is peace. Once there is peace, once there is education, then people can vote freely when there is just election, you see. So now, in most of the African countries, people have agreed that one-party rule is out of question, is rejected. Military dictatorship is rejected. So we go to multi-party systems, like Kenya, 2 parties, 3 parties. Sudan now we're going to have more than 20 parties. Ghana, how many parties? Uganda, how many parties? Like that.
The multi-party system also has its drawbacks as well, though, because it's like you can have all these people just setting up parties, but they're not achieving anything. It's just, I'm the leader of a party.
Yes, it is true that, as a third world, when you talk about third world country, you have so many developmental issues. Lack of resources in some countries. In countries where there are resources, there is a lack of manpower. So manpower is being developed, and in order to introduce new development, new programs like Sudan, we have in South Sudan especially, we have problem of manpower resource. So we need to have an institute like AGI produce more educated people, more qualified people, such that those ideas, these are good ideas, can help people to implement them. You can have money, like in Sudan we have got gold, we have got oil, we have got uranium, we have got the land, but we have been in war for almost 40 years, still we got independence 50 years ago. It was only 10 years where we have a relative peace. So the issue of peace, stability in Africa has been a problem.
Well, and I said, big up Kubara and the Nubiart show, giving a different perspective on Africa and the African world. Love.
What role do you see the media playing in and on behalf of ADI?
Well, the media is to inform people that there is something called ADI, the objective of the ADI, the program of ADI, and then the media can establish newspapers, can establish computer networks in order to inform the youth and then the population. That one, the role of the media is very important. We need the TV, you need radio, you need newspapers, you see, and you need the internet network, and that cannot be played by the media. So the role of the media is
Many African activists, like, they're against capitalist business model, yeah, and they prefer cooperatives or barter or people doing things for free through a sense of duty to the race. This lets them promote a sense of racial solidarity, and also they can make out that, like, they're incorruptible, but it leaves Africans at a disadvantage in the wider macroeconomic field in terms of not having people who are trained to do business, or not setting up enough businesses, or not being able to set up businesses that can get the discounts or that can take on big contracts or anything like that. Would you like to comment on that?
Oh, yes. Of course, this was the whole idea. For example, during the post-independence period, some of the countries which got independence through war of national liberation, they took ideas of socialism. Those who did not fight, who got the independence from the colonial authorities without fighting, adopted capitalist system of economy and even political system from the former colonial power. And those who rejected capitalism adopted cooperative societies, collective farms, and so forth. It was that time that the African states were being introduced to modernity, transformation of the culture from subsistence production to a market production. Whether that market is a planned market or is a pre-economy market was the tension. So in Tanzania, in Ghana, you found that time some elements talking about African socialism, planned economy, socialist economy, and in Kenya, Uganda, Sudan, they took to market economy, and so you saw those diversions. But now, I think people have moved towards mixed economy, free market economy plus planned economy. That is public operations, government intervention plus the market intervention. So you cannot get pure market economy or capitalist economy or pure socialist economy, but you get mixed economy. So at least now there are changes. Whoever wants to have cooperatives, they can have cooperatives. Whoever wanted to have a free market, a big shops or stores, they can have it. Okay? So we have now adopted in Africa mixed economy. And I think it is becoming good. So we are not anymore anti-capitalist or pro-communist. No. We have taken what is good from capitalist system and what is good from the socialist system and call it mixed economy.
Okay. But the African economies are kind of playing catch-up, or even some people would say, like, they've been exploited so much historically that, they're never going to get into any positions of prominence. Like, even if you want to take the example of India and China, never mind the European economies, it's like those places that African economies could gravitate into. It's like people say, well, those positions are already taken by the Western world or India or China, so there's nowhere for Africans to grow into because historically they've just been providers of raw materials.
Yes, you are right. After independence, those African countries which had independence took the colonial kind of economy, you see, which was introduced by the colonial authorities in Africa. Provision of raw materials to Western establishments. And this one continued for several years until second liberation. The first one was political liberation. You have political independence, but no economic independence. The last 10 years, 20 years has seen second liberation, which is economic liberation. People can refuse to sell their goods. People can reject loans from the World Bank. It was not there before. There is now African market where they can sell their goods. Yes, China can invest, India can invest, America can invest, European can invest, but still there is now common market, African common market for African goods. And there is a development of industrialization. Okay, it is not very great, but it is a way forward to economic liberation, which is a very major war. And I've seen it that we can produce our own food, we can produce our own clothes, and we can build our own houses without asking Europe or China to come and do them. So at least there's something taking place, okay? But it is against the current of the fighting over it. But Africa is also putting its own roots. You can see now we have got African markets, we have got African security agencies, we have now African peacekeeping force, okay? So there is something taking place. We are no longer dependent on our former colonizers, no.
Okay, so do you see ADI having like a policy input on a like regional peacekeeping, economic development, health, and the promotion of science and technology across Africa?
Of course, in cooperation with existing organizations, educational institutions, yes, we already have the peacekeeping post in Africa. The African Union has established now conflict resolutions department, economic development department, and these bodies are working. So the ADI is supposed to join the existing African institutions for peace, development, for reconciliation, and other economic-related developments to promote transformation of the African societies from traditional based economy to modern economy, which has taken off in many countries. If you look into South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, and some other African countries with oil, the development, the rise of per capita, the rise of standard of living is now being seen. Even illiteracy is being reduced in some African countries, and API